Hi, welcome to Sean's Workshop. Today I thought I'd talk about how to actually use the scrapers. In the last video that I did, I talked about the actual scrapers that I have. Now I'll talk about how to set them up. First, let's talk about putting the burr on the edge of the scraper to make it work properly. I actually have this jig that I had purchased, and how you use this jig is you have a file, you put in a file, this is a mill file, and then you actually run your mill file or your scraper across the file a few times to get the thin edge on here, and then you use a burnishing rod like this. This is a hard metal rod that you use, and you pull that burr that you had created over to make kind of a hook. You won't be able to see it on the camera, but you can feel, or you can hear that hook on the scraper. That's what actually makes the scraper work. Now this one, like I'd said in the last video, it actually has a camber that you can, or adjustment knob here that you can push to put a little camber on the scraper to make it a little more aggressive. So let me just show you how this one works. And again, I like this kind of handle rather than using the scraper bare, because if you do use the scraper a lot, the metal will start getting hot, and it'll actually get hot on your fingers. So I like to use a holder like this one. Now this one, if you look at this wood, you can see that it's highly figured. If I just took a hand plane and went across here, especially against all this grain, that's going to produce tear out. You can see some of the tear out here on the board. But using a scraper like this, that'll actually take, you can see it takes some of that shavings off without actually making gouges in the wood. So this is, again, using a scraper for highly figured wood like this, where the grain changes a lot and it's pretty wild. A scraper comes in, it's hard to beat a scraper for getting a nice finish on the wood. So this is one of the scrapers, like I said, I use. Probably the two that I use the most is this Stanley number 80. And same thing, obviously, you can see the scraper blade in here. It's also got that camber here, or that screw to put the camber on the actual blade. And how I set this one up is I take usually 2 pieces of paper and set it, and then put the scraper right on here so that the paper's underneath everything but where the throat of the scraper is, and that just puts the scraper blade just a hair below the surface of the scraper itself, the scraper plane itself. Then I tighten this up, and then the same thing, it's got the burr on there, and if I set the camber a little bit, you can see that it actually starts taking shavings off. Now these are pretty fine. Usually I like to get it a little bit more aggressive. These probably both need actually a little bit more of a burr worked on them. I haven't done that in a bit. But here's also the same thing, set up the same way, using the piece of paper on either side of the mouth to set that scraper blade for the depth. And then same principle here. Now this one has a little fancier adjustment. You loosen the 2 knobs to adjust the slant of the blade. And this one, the blade just sits flat, or you can't camber this one. You can see the blade is quite thick on this one. But same thing, this one actually has a better burr on it. These are the types of shavings that you should be getting typically when using a scraping plane like this. But just work it across the grain like this. Again, using it in highly figured wood. And you can see it produces nice shavings, and you don't get that tear out across this highly figured wood. So that's in general how you use the scraper planes or scraper blades. And like I said, a jig like this helps to set up putting that burr along with a burnishing rod. And this actually also has a hardened metal burnishing rod built right into it. But I usually use the hand one, and that way I can gradually work that camber over on that scraping blade. So that's how you use the scraping planes that I have. Thanks for watching, and if you want to watch more videos, click on the link over here.